Welcome back, guys. Eli here, and on this video I want to talk about this recent TikTok that I posted.
When I first started shooting real estate, I actually used a Nikon D3100, which is a really cheap camera, and I used it until I made well over $100,000. The thing with real estate photography, which I love about it, is it doesn't really matter what camera you shoot with. Basically anything will work. So if you have something that's digital and made like within the last 10 years, it'll probably work.
So if you don't know much about cameras, know this. The Nikon D3100 that I talked about in that video is a very cheap camera, and at the time it had been out for a few years and I got it for somewhere between $300 and $400, but now they can be found for like $120. That camera I used to shoot real estate until I made well over $100,000. That cheap camera paired with a lens that I got that actually ended up costing more than the camera at about $450, but either way, my setup was less than $1,000 and it generated me 100 times that in revenue. And the reason I want to talk about that in this video is because so many photographers have it backwards and they prioritize the wrong things in their business, which ultimately leads them with a lot of gear and a lot of money spent on gear and not a lot of income or revenue to show for that gear, and that is not what I want for you. What I want to start with is something that everybody can agree with. There are photographers with awesome gear, expensive gear, amazing high quality gear, and no money. And there are photographers with a lot of money who generate a lot of income with not so amazing gear. There's actually a story I want to tell you along these lines, because if you agree with this point, you understand that it isn't the gear that matters, because if those two things both exist, it can't be the gear that is the variable of success. I was at a workshop that we hosted. It was one of our first in-person workshops we hosted for some of our students teaching video, and I had the chance to talk to this student through the couple days that he was here, and he was a pretty reserved guy. He didn't share a lot about his business, but I ended up being outside with him and we ended up talking. There was no one else around, so he was kind of sharing his business with me and thanking me for helping him grow his business. And he said that he just hit a really fun milestone for him, which was he made $10,000 in a single month. And I thought that was amazing. We talked about it for a little longer, and then about 5 minutes later in the conversation, he was talking about gear, and I had a question for him. It was just a specific setting question. And anyway, I asked him what camera he was using, and he goes, I forget what it's called. It's the camera you recommended. And I thought that was the funniest thing ever, because there was this guy who was making $10,000 a month shooting real estate, photos, videos, drone, that kind of stuff. And he had no idea, at least off the top of his head, the camera he was using. Yet, if you talk to a lot of photographers, especially the ones that are very gear focused and don't have a lot of money, they know exactly the type of gear and everything about that. And that just goes to show, that story illustrates that there is far more to it than the gear you have and the money you spent on that gear. In fact, that has nothing to do with your success as a photographer. And so in the rest of this video, I want to talk about the 3 things that separate you as a photographer that aren't gear, because that doesn't do anything, and how you can get better at those 3 specific things. So number 1 is sales. Most photographers should be focusing on sales. And this video is specifically talking about real estate photography. I can't talk about other types of photography because I've never done it, but in real estate photography, you must learn how to sell. I don't mean you have to become some great phone closer. I mean, you need to be focusing on and improving your ability to sell clients into using your company, because ultimately that's the only thing that makes a difference. Now, like most people, I hate the idea of cold calling, and I don't love walking into people's offices and trying to get their business. So when I was first starting my business, I used a thing I now call the Instagram method, where I would reach out to a bunch of agents on Instagram. I'd build my profile ahead of time. I have other videos talking about that specifically. But I would reach out to agents on Instagram and offer them a free first shoot, and that grew my business like nothing else. We're at the point where we have over 1,800 clients in my real estate photography business, and the vast majority of those clients are referrals from somebody that I initially reached out to using the Instagram method. So my method is reach out on Instagram and then really work to get those agents who use you and like your service to refer you. And that brings me to the second point, which is service. You need to get good at serving your client. And when I say service, I don't just mean the common things people talk about when you say customer service, like you're friendly on the phone or you reply quickly. I'm talking about the little details from when our photographers go to a shoot. Our photographer John would not introduce himself as John with Norman and Young. He would introduce himself as John, the agent's name photographer. So if he was shooting for Sarah, he would say, "Hi, I'm John, I'm Sarah's photographer." We really structure our business to feel like we are part of that agent's team, and that goes a long way for the client. But all the way on the other side of things, we do things like we don't charge if the agent has to cancel, no matter if we're already there or it's 2 days before, because we know things happen. And again, we're trying to serve them in a way no other photographer has served them before, because we're focused on lifetime value. A lot of photographers, they don't want to do things that would be great customer service and that would highly promote referrals, because they're so worried about how much they're going to get from that next invoice. And that's why you see a lot of weird things around photo usage rights and things like that, where photographers are so ingrained in the photographer side of things, where they know that they own the rights, which you as a photographer own the rights to any photo you take. But that doesn't mean you want to restrict your agent or be really specific about how they use the photos, because ultimately, if your clients win and they get more listings because they use your media to promote them, that works out better for you. And so we're really focused on things like that at my business. And obviously there's details of that. I have other videos posted about that will go into more my thoughts and how we put that into place. But generally, we focus a lot on service. We focus a lot more on service than we ever did our product quality in the first place. Our product quality is great, but service is much more important. And the third thing that really matters is systems. If it is a pain to book shoots with you, if it is a pain to pay invoices and download photos, clients will hate working with you. We use a system called HD Photo Hub that is an awesome resource for real estate photographers that handles all that. But regardless of what system you choose to use, make sure that it is very frictionless to work with you. It should not be a problem to book a shoot. They should not have to spend more than 3 to 5 minutes booking a shoot with you. If it's a long process, if you're signing them a contract every time, if you do things like that hinder that booking process, you are losing out on money. Period. That is just the way it goes in this business. Real estate photography is different than other types of photography. You are there to do high volume. You are there to be easy to work with. And if you do those 3 things, sales, service, and systems, your business will grow a lot faster than your competitors. That all being said, to end this video, you obviously need some kind of camera to shoot with, even if you now know that it isn't that important when it comes to making money as a photographer. So I'm going to show you the best balance of quality and budget, at least in my opinion, for real estate photos. So jumping to my screen here, you can see this kit.co link. This will be linked below as well. And we have a couple of different kits. We have our budget kit, our big spender kit, and the kit what my employees use. I would not worry about the big spender kit. We simply put that on there because some people love spending a lot of money on gear. And so if they were set in their ways doing that, we wanted to be able to recommend them some nice gear. But for everybody just starting, especially those of you guys that don't already have camera equipment or that don't really know what you're looking for, I highly encourage you to go with the items in this budget kit. The big 3 are up here. The Canon EOS 50, again, my entire business, all of our photographers shot with this for about 1.5 years and had great results. This is a lens that pairs nicely to it. You can get these, especially if used, for like under $700. So great value there. And then really any tripod. This is a cheap Manfrotto tripod, a good brand, has a ball head, works well. If you want to spend a little bit more and get something more long-term, this is the exact kit my photographers at my business use. You can check that all out here. Main upgrades are the camera body and lens, but also the tripod. We switched to a geared head, which is really nice for getting straight verticals as a real estate photographer. So you'll be able to check this all out. This is the exact specifics for everything. So our 3D tours, our drone, everything like that. Again, that is linked below. I hope you got something out of this video and you don't make the mistakes that so many other photographers make, which is to focus on the 20% of your business that makes no difference and ignore the 80% service, sales, and systems that will really grow your business. If you have any questions, as always, drop them in the comments. And if you haven't yet checked out my full business in a box real estate photography course called Real Estate Photographer Pro, that will be linked down below as well with a YouTube discount. It's fully backed by our money back guarantee, which you can learn more about at that link. Again, hope you enjoyed this video. I'll see you in the next one.